What's up, guys? What's up, everyone? So, one thing I absolutely hate is that if I'm ever trying to do my own budgeting, my own sort of spending habits and managing that shit, I hate watching these videos where they're just completely out of touch. Like, if I had 2 grand a month to put into my debt, I wouldn't be in debt in the first place. That's usually how I feel. I don't know about you guys. So, this is a kind of like a real world how to manage, how to live, and how to clear your debt video. It's very important that we understand the differences between the two because unfortunately for a lot of people debt is part of life, like it comes with the territory, right? But it's important that you know how to manage it because money means a lot and it can put people really down, and sometimes it's hard to see the way out. So we're going to break it down today into 2 different parts. First of all, it's like how to live with it and then how to clear it. But before all of that, there is one thing that everyone has to do, and that is either build a budget template, build a budget, write it down, whatever you want. I like Google Sheets, it's easy, it's accessible, I can look at it from anywhere. And what we're going to do is we're going to break it down so visually, so you can see it. That's going to be the most important thing that we do today. However, simply the first thing that anyone has to do is decide, or so not decide, determine what type of debt are you in. You have 2 different types. You have the under earners and you have the overspenders. So how do you work that out? Really simple. You have to work out your income per month, right? So this is usually pretty fixed unless you take up extra shifts. And if it is a little bit jagged because of the shifts, try and work out the average that you bring per month, right? So if you work 40 hours a week and you have that every week for 4 weeks, put that thing. If sometimes you do 60, sometimes you do 30, it works out at 40, 45, some whatever. Just use your average that you get per month. Look at the last 3 months. I would say if you haven't got a specific average, it's hard to work out. Add them all up, divide it by 3. That's going to be your average income per month. The reason we want to use your average, you don't want to use your highest because sometimes it's not the same. You don't want to use your lowest because it's unrealistic and can be too restrictive. So what you do is you work out your income. Now I'm just going to use myself as an example. I make £2,100 per month. This is after my tax. If you're in the US, I don't know how that works out for you guys, how you guys manage that, but you know how to do it anyway. So I make £2,100 per month after tax. That's how much lands in my account. And then you work out your necessity bills. These are going to be the key ones. These are rent, mortgage, utilities. If you're in the UK, you pay council tax. It's going to be your broadband. It's going to be your phone. It's going to be travel. And it's going to be anything that you deem an absolute necessity. Now, you have to be very real with yourself about this. You have to be very honest with yourself about this. And you have to be very strict with yourself about this, right? You don't want to name anything a necessity. So for me, my necessities are listed as here. It is my mortgage, right? I own a property as part ownership, so I pay mortgage and rent. They divide amongst the two. My mortgage, I'm going to go £670 a month, right? That includes my service charge in that as well, so that's including the cost. And my rent is £360 a month, right? That brings me up to a total amount going so far 1030. Now, if you don't know how to do this stuff on Excel, don't worry. I'm going to share this template in my link. It's going to be completely free. You can just copy it and go to Google Sheets, and then you can export it to Excel, whatever. I can, at the end, go you through the actual formulas and stuff as well. So far, that's 670. Then you've got your council tax. For me, that's what you pay in the UK, part of your thing. Mine is £180, like that. Now, your gas and your electric, you guys should all know these bills. If you don't know them, look through your bank statements. You either have them through direct debit or you can find where you spent them. Everything's on card nowadays. Most people don't use cash. If you are in the UK and you still have a key card, just put your average that you do per week. I know sometimes it can change depending on how often you're home and such. So whatever you do as your normal top-up amount, do that. For me, my gas is 30. And my electric is 60. I work from home, so I'm at home all the time. My electric's quite high. Now, your minimum payments, we're going to come back to this one for now. We'll just star that one for now, but you'll come back to it. Your Sky Broadband, so that's me, that's my internet. Sky Broadband is 25. My phone is 17. Water, my water I pay quarterly, but I work it out monthly because I put the money aside. So my water, again, because I live alone, it's £30 a month. It's a bit expensive, but I'm at home all the time. My travel, that I don't travel, I work from home, but you put whatever your travel is. My gym is 26. And then your food shopping. Now you want to put this as the monthly cost, right? And you kind of want to be a little bit restrictive on this one, because if you know you overspend and you get bare snacks and you spend like quite a bit, you don't want to do that. You want to do this as one, like however you do your shopping. I do mine weekly. I spend 50 quid a week on my shopping. That gets me 21 meals. That's breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a little bit of snacks in between. Maybe something like drinks or bottled drinks or something like that, juice, squash, whatever. Mine is £50 a month. When you times that by 4, that's £200. Sorry, £50 a week times that by 4, that is £200 a month. The reason that we're working this out is when we look at the necessity bills. Now I'm going to come back to this main one in just a second. When we look at necessity bills, we're working out how much extra do we have after we've been paid, right? And if for any reason after your necessity bills it is higher than what you get paid, you are in what's called under earning debts. You do not earn enough money to do the bare minimum to life. And at that point, you need to conduct a lifestyle change. Now, that can come from a few things. It could be changing job, it could be changing location, it could be moving out, it could be cutting down on a car. Whatever those costs are, you need to change your lifestyle. Now, I'm going to be very honest. In this current economy, if you are in the UK, changing job is not easy. You can't just job hop and get the extra money that you need to. You need to change your lifestyle. Move back home, move to an outer city, live with a friend, go to a roommate, room share for a little bit. These are genuine things that you need to do until you can change your position. Right now, you simply can't afford to live. It's dark, it's twisted, it's not fair, it's unsupportive of a growing economy, but it is the way that the world is. That's what you need to do. Now, if you are over if your earnings is higher than your minimum necessity and you're in debt, then you are an overspender on debt. And now it's about managing your cash flow, managing your lifestyle, managing the key details that you have. You don't have to change anything about your lifestyle. It's not about that. It's just about managing and understanding. So that's the main things that we need to do. You can see these highlighted here, right? I don't know if it's doing enough highlighting for you, but you can see them highlighted there. Overall income, outgoing, extra. If that's in negative, you are an an under earner. If that's in positive, you are an overspender. That's perfectly fine. Either one are fine. It's just difficult to manage. Okay. Now, what you can see here is it's taken for week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. It's taken this extra and it's divided it amongst them, right? And we're going to touch on that in just a moment. Okay. I'll come back to that in just a bit. We're going to go back to minimum payments here. Now, what you also need to do is list out your current debts. As you can see, I've got them here. You want to put in your interest payments on your payments. So if you've got credit cards, if you've got loans, you will have a minimum payment, something that you've got to pay every month towards the card or towards the loan or towards the debt. And then you're going to have an interest that's charged on top. Sometimes it's charged monthly. Sometimes you're paying it as part of the principal. 9 times out of 10, the credit card is charged monthly. Loans are usually paid as part of the principal, right? So you don't need to worry about that. You pay it every month. What you do is you list out your debts, you list out your minimum payments. So you can see here, I've got a Barclays credit card that has 6,700. The minimum payments are £78. I'll touch on why it's so low later. I've also got a monitor that I've got through Curry's buy now, pay later. It means I don't have to pay anything for a year, but I've been putting £20 a month to that so it can be nice and done. And I've got Halifax. My Halifax minimum payment is £100. I have £1,100 on that. And then each of these, you list your interest. These two are zero. I'll touch on that in just a moment, but you might be paying something like £30 on interest on that card a month, £20, £50, £100. The reason you're going to mark that down, it's not going to go on the sheet. We're going to come back to that later as well. Just bear with me here. I know we're going to keep it out. It's a lot of details, but follow along. It's really clears up quite well. What you're going to do is you're going to add these up. So this adds up to £298. Sorry, £198. You stick that here. And now you've got your remainder. Okay. Now, it's important that you get this part right. The necessities is really important that you get that part right, because this is going to make the biggest difference to what happens next. With this budget template, you are going to divide this number, including your food shopping, right? Like me, I shop per week, which is why I've done it for 4 weeks. If you do everything in 1 month, say you mass do your shopping and you stick everything in the freezer because you can do that, then keep it to a month. That's perfectly fine. Match this budget template to however you do your spending. I spend per week. That includes my travel. That includes my food shopping. I do food shopping once a week. So money's regularly leaving my card for necessities once a week after my bills, right? It's taken this number. What the weekly spend has done is it's taken this number, it's divided it by 4, and then it's also taken this number. What it's done, what this budget has done, is it's taken my food shopping and divided it by my spending habits, which is my weekly spend. So as you can see over here, it's got food shop is 50 quid per week. Let me just put this so it's easier to manage. Cool. 50 quid per week. And then it's divided this number, which is all your extra money, divided that per week, and that gives me £126 per week. And one thing I forgot to mention, obviously, this £104 or whatever I put there before, I believe it was 2,100. Let's just change that again. There's 2,100 here. This £104 is your remainder for the whole month. You're doing it at 76 quid a week because it's going to include your food shopping that you do per week if you spend per week. And that's how much money you can spend per week. You don't want to spend all of it, right? That's just your limit for that week in order to get through the month. So if you're going to only spend your £400, if you're only going to spend your shopping, right? Bam, you put 50 quid here, 50 quid of shopping, 50 quid of shopping, 50 quid of shopping, 50 quid of shopping. That leaves you at the end of the month £104 that you can put towards your debt, right? And you list your spending here. Like I said, it's important to see it. It's important to track it. It's important to make sure that there is a visual representation of what you're doing. So I forgot to put that in the video, so I'm just slotting it in now, right? That includes my food shopping. That'll include travel, if that's there. So, you know, if you buy your travel cards weekly, whatever, my travel could be 150 a month, right? And you can see it changes. So including travels, if my travel's 150 a month, well, now I have £88.50 per week, to get me through the month, right? That's the important part done. That's the visual representation we need. Now, where does this leave you? After you've done this part, where does this leave you? Really simple. It leaves you knowing where your money is going. This is a big thing that a lot of people miss. It is very difficult to track your spending habits today's world because there's no cash, right? So you're spending everything on your card, you're tapping away, you're entering details, and you don't actually physically see it leaving your pocket. You're not drawing out the £20 out of your hand and handing it over, so you're not physically seeing it. So you've got no sort of visual stimulus to stop you from tapping and tapping and tapping. However, as you've seen this, now you know it's £88.50, right? If you spend £90, you know you've overspent because you've seen it. You know where all your money's going. You know that that extra £1.50 that you spent is useless money. Where is that going? It doesn't need to go anything. Now, a lot of people are going to say £88.50 per week is a lot of money. It can be. It can be if you know how to budget, but by knowing how to see it allows you to plan that. However, we are not done with this. There is one more thing that you need to add into this budget, which again, you don't have to do weekly, but you have to do is have a fun budget. This is the most important part about the whole thing. The reason you add it in at the end, you need to see how much is remaining so that you can manage this accordingly. And the reason it's important to have a fun budget, I know a lot of people are going to say, I'm going to not have fun. I'm just going to enjoy myself and I'm going to lock it all off. I'm going to go cold turkey. You're not going to do that. Realistically, if you had the discipline to do that, you would not end up in the debt in the first place, or you'd have the savings where you weren't using your debt and it's a lot more manageable. You wouldn't be researching these videos. Let's be honest. And it's important to be honest. I am one of these people. I cannot go without fun for a whole month. I will call it a day. I would end the day. I would clock out. The shift is over, right? I cannot survive, and I know a lot of people can't either, and that's okay. The reason we're including a fun budget is because a lot of the time people forget that you still need to live and you still need to get by. You don't need to be weighed down by everything to stop you from actually living life while you're in debt. It's important that you do this, and I mean this, and you can do this per activity. Now, I'm not saying you can go away and live your normal life. You can't do that, but you can be smart about how you do things. So, for example, if you are a gamer like me, you might want to buy a new game every month. Now, What you do is you change that. You don't have to buy a new game every month because games cost 70 quid. And as you can see here, I've got £154 at the end of the month for everything else. I can't spend anything more than £154 after a thing, and that's just paying my minimum payments on my card. So it's not going to make a massive difference in the debt. I can't afford to do that. But what I can afford to do is maybe put 30 quid towards fun. And as a gamer, you know, you can get free games, you can borrow games from friends, you can get PlayStation Plus or Game Pass. There's games that come on that stuff to help you have something new to play. You can play old games, you can replay games, you can put this 30 quid to a new game each month. However, what you can do is add a budget which allows you to partake in an activity that you enjoy, let's say twice a month, right? So I like to go to the pub. I like to have a couple drinks with my friends. I'm going to put my fun money at £50 a month, right? Not a lot of money. It's got to include my travel. So £10 of that is going on to travel. However, 3 beers, you can spend like 20 quid, right? And £10. If I have 3 beers that can last me a good night, right? I can step out, I can go and enjoy myself one night on the week or twice in a month, spend 50 quid. That's £10 to get there and back. That's 3 beers, maybe 2 beers if you're being on the soft one. You can enjoy yourself, you can socialize, you can go out. Say you're a restaurant person, 50 quid, that gets you a meal at a restaurant. Maybe you can only do that once a month. Or if you're a takeout person, that's 2 Uber Eats orders, right? You're managing this stuff. You're still including it in your life, but you're managing it. And the reason it's important to manage it, you don't want to go crazy, right? Now, that gives me £104 extra that I can just top up into any of these other debts. It's not going to clear your debt overnight. It's not going to give you a miracle. You're not going to get rid of your debt in 3 or 4 months. The point is that's not the point. The point is that's not the point. The point is that you are going to live with your debt and you're going to manage with it. Like I said, there's 2 parts of this video. There's the first part, which is living with your debt, managing your debt. And the second part is how to clear it. And that's what we're going to touch on next. But I just need to emphasize, you need to have a fun budget. You need to include it. You need to live your life. Otherwise, what's going to happen is you're going to lock yourself up. You're going to pent this all up and then you're going to burst, and everything that you've been working towards, this whole budget, this whole thing that you're going to be sticking towards is going to crumble because you're going to collapse under pressure. And you shouldn't do that yourself. You shouldn't put yourself in that situation. You don't need to. Yes, there's going to be times where you're going to have to give up what you like. But if it's in the budget, you've got room for it, you can still enjoy yourself, you just spend time taking it out. Now, there's a bit of magic behind this because one thing that you'll notice is that this is a consistent budget, right? This is not for the next 3 or 4 months plan. This is a lifestyle plan, which means as long as you keep this up, you are going to slowly chip away at your debt, right? Most of the time with loans and credit cards, you might have a time limit on it, but you're paying a certain amount of interest over the time anyway. With credit cards, there's no time limit. You can just manage that. With buy now, pay later, you just incorporate it into your budget and you can move things around. I have the ability to move things around. So if I decide that I want to be a little bit stricter with my food shopping, I can do that. If I don't need to have that much fun that month, maybe I don't need to use that much money because a new game come out for free, I can move around that. You can fiddle with these numbers that best suits what you need and how you can manage effectively. That's the best part about having this budget template. You can fiddle with the necessary numbers, right? I'm doing a lot of talking here, guys. I do apologize, but it's just I need to emphasize these details. Paying attention to these details makes a massive difference. But so far, we've done the first part. We've done the tough part, which is breaking down how to live with your debt. Right, you follow that budget. When it works out like this, I have £76 a week to play with. If I can do £30 of shopping for this week, well, then I've got £40 to carry over to the next week, or I've got £40 to chuck on the debt. Or if one week I do £60 of shopping, right, and I use some of that £10 over there, well, then next week I can do £40. And you know what I'm saying? You can bundle it and you can see where everything's going. You know that you have £76 to spend, and then bam, that's it. You live life according to your means. This is what I'm saying. It's not a thing, not a life-changing budget. This is living with your debt and still getting by. The best part though is that you can grow with time. You can increase your earnings. Maybe you get more effective with your spending. Maybe with the minimum payments, they start to go down because you're slowly chipping away, so on and so forth. So that's how to live with your debt. Now, the next part is about attacking your debt. this is where this side of things come in. You have to attack your debt effectively. Okay, this is really important. You might have interest that you get charged, you have minimum payments that you can bring down, so on and so forth. So, the first thing that you want to do is you want to target a specific debt. You don't want to pay everything evenly, and you don't want to pay anything all the time. Right now, you can see here that I have a £78 minimum spend on 6,700 debt. I have £20 on a monitor, and I have £100 on an 1100 debt that charges me £50 in interest. What do I want to do? Well, you want to reduce the interest as much as possible. You want to target the one that is reducing your money for no reason. So what happens when you pay interest? If I put £100 into that card, but I get £100 a month into that card, but I get charged £50 of interest each month, what actually happens? I'm only paying off £50 a month. So what would take me 10 months to pay off is now going to take me 20, simply because I'm being charged interest. So what do? This extra £100 you chuck in to this card, the Halifax. This extra £100 that you see here, you're going to chuck into Halifax. Why? Because that's going to reduce the overall spend. Then that's going to reduce the minimum payment. And then that's going to reduce the amount of interest you pay. And because you're reducing the amount of interest you pay, the more payments that you're sticking onto it, you are going to attack the debt directly, right? If you keep that £100, but this suddenly becomes £900, the interest might go down to £30. So now you're putting £70 towards it. And you keep doing that. If you have cards with different sets of interest, and one time one is £40, and then you get this one to 30, and this one's still 40, well, then you switch. Then you go for that one. It's all about making an effective use of your money, right? And as you do that, you maintain this minimum payment budget, right? So if this gets down to say £800, £600, sorry, and the minimum payment becomes 60 quid, but the interest is still £20, you're still going to put £100 here. Why? It's just going to attack the direct debit, that it's going to attack the debt more effectively. That's the main thing. Okay, that's what you want to do, and then you move on to the next one. You do it with your monitor, you do it with your Barclays card, you do it with your loans, your payday loans, whatever you can. Okay, that's the main thing about how to attack the debt. The best part is, as your income grows, as this minimum payments stays the same, and you manage to live with this £50, you get more effective with your food shopping. Maybe you get more effective with your travel. Maybe you get better at managing your electric usage, all this kind of stuff, right? Because you're still living with the debt and you're managing it and you're still getting by. You have the freedom to become more effective. Then you have the freedom to say, oh, this month I can actually put £150 here, or I can put £120 there. Or if one month you know something's coming up, well, bam, I've cleared this off. I can move a little bit of this month. Maybe I put 150 towards the minimum payments, and I keep an extra 40 for my fund because it's a birthday, or I want to get a gift, or it's Christmas, whatever. You can do that as well. The next part you want to do is make use of your tools. So one of the biggest tools, one of the best tools, is what's called a balance transfer. This is mainly for credit cards. Balance transfer. What this is very simply, you're moving this debt onto a different card at 0% interest with a small fee, right? So let's put it like this. You have Halifax that has £600 of debt. The minimum payment is 60 quid. You're paying £20 of interest. Every time I put 60 quid, I'm actually not putting 60 quid. I'm putting 40 because I get charged £20 of interest. However, another bank, let's say Santander, has called you or sent you an email saying, we're going to offer you a 0% balance transfer for 12 months. The minimum payment's going to be 3% instead of 10%, and it's going to come at a 5% fee. What does that mean? It means you can move this £600 to here, to the Santander. For the next 12 months, you're not going to pay any interest. And your minimum payment, instead of 10%, is going to be, what did I say? 20 fucking whatever. Let's say it's 5%. Your minimum payment is going to be 30 quid. So now, you've reduced your minimum payment, which means if you need to, you can move some money around. But you still put 60 quid towards it. However, you're not paying any interest. So everything that you put towards the debt is going to be cleared off. So where it was going to take you roughly 18 months to clear it off before, now it's going to take you 12. Your money is going further. Now, I did say there's going to be a 5% minimum payment, a 5% fee, which means in order to move it from Halifax to Santander, they're going to charge you 3% of whatever you move, which is something like, I don't know, £18, right? £18. So now the debt becomes 16, 18. Minimum payment still 30. You're paying no interest for the first 12 months. You focus on this card because now you've got 0% interest. You just clear that one as soon as you can. Right? That's called a balance transfer. It doesn't happen to everyone. Oftentimes, if you're in debt, it makes it really difficult to get to. But as you clear off your debt, I promise you, you're going to start getting these offers from your current debt providers or from new debt providers, like current credit card providers or new credit card providers. They're going to make you this offer. I wouldn't spam looking for these. Maybe do it once every 3 months. You're in debt. No one cares if you fuck up your credit card or your credit score a little bit more by doing a search. Do it. Just go for it. It's going to clear you up. It's going to make it easier. And like I said, as time goes on, because you're living with the debt, you're managing your life with the debt, you're not crumbling under the pressure, you can grow. This income can go from 2,100 to 2,500. And suddenly, life gets a lot easier, right? Suddenly you have £176. But you're used to this. You're living this. You've stuck to these bills. You've understand the minimum payment. So now the extra money just goes straight on, right? You've got £500 that can just go straight onto a brand new thing. You can clear that off in 2 months or clear it off in 1 month and all that kind of stuff. That's the main thing. You want to make use of that. You also want to call your bank and ask for interest pauses, right? Pausing your interest is a massive thing. You want to make sure you put all your debt into the actual debt rather than getting charged for it. You also want to call your banks and see if you can get minimum payment pauses as well if you want to focus on a particular debt. There's a lot of options out there that you can really do. Some people might regret from a debt repayment plan, right? What happens is in that one, I would research that one in particular because it comes with extra things to be aware of. But what that happens is you call someone, they buy all your debt from all your options. They charge you a flat fee that you pay over X amount of time, but it does come at a damage to your credit score quite a bit. Sometimes it lasts up to 5 years. And then of course, as you go on time, like I said, banks are going to offer, I was just checking my notes there, banks are going to offer you special offers about reducing your interest, about increasing your limit, all that kind of stuff. The next tip that you want to do, and this is where this comes in particular, the weekly spending, you want a separate account for your bills and for your spending. You want one account where you don't have any access to, so you can open up a brand new bank account, you snap the card, you throw it in the bin, you never order another one. That one's where your bills come out of. As soon as you get paid, you chuck in the money into that account for those bills. It can't be touched. It can't be transferred, right? It's just going to do that. You can transfer to it. You can't transfer out. Most of the time, you have to be able to, but be smart with it. Have some discipline. And the second one is you have the second card for your weekly spending. That way you put your week spending on that card that week. You tap away. You don't touch it again. If it doesn't work, you know you've overspent, right? And then you manage that accordingly. You can't buy those snacks. You can't get that lunch at office that day because you can't afford it. Next week, you do it all again. This all stuff makes a massive difference. Like I said, the point of this video is to make sure that you live with debt, not just left without it, not just drowning in it. I hope this all makes sense. I'm going to include the link to the template. You haven't got to worry about like what to fill in and all that kind of stuff. I've done all the formulas and stuff. It's going to be completely free. If there is any questions, comment below. If you want me to go through it with you one-to-one, I can do that with you as well. I'm not going to charge you for it because I know what it's like. It's for lack of a better term, it's fucking hell living in debt, man. It's horrendous when you wake up and you just can't live the life that you want to live. You can't even live any life because there's no picture in sight. We will go through it together. We'll go into more details together about like how this slowly clears off and how it gets attacked and how you can manage it and all that kind of stuff. Most importantly, though, I just want everyone to realize as well, there is help that you can get, right? If you need to talk to a professional about your mental health when you're in debt, please do. I understand just how precious your mind is when it comes to this stuff, but I also understand how much pressure it takes to live with debt. It's fucking horrific, right? Especially if you are earning good money, but because of the amount of minimum payments, because of the amount of debt, it just doesn't make it good anymore. It's even more deflating. Please speak to someone. If you need financial protection, speak to your bank. There are financial facilities out there that can help you. There are government facilities out there that can help you and just give you peace of mind. But if you want to just speak to a real person, someone who knows it, I'm not saying I'm any better than those other people. I'm here. Comment, drop me a message. I'll leave an email, and then you can always DM me there as well. All right. I hope this helped. A long-winded video, but yeah, this is the way I manage it. Thanks.